What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Parrot Press. This video is a little bit different. It's not necessarily about my gallery as such, but we're going to be taking a look at two videos within the last probably 2 years that have had the most influence on my gallery and my decisions. Now, recently, one of them was pretty much 2 weeks ago, and it kind of triggered the idea to do this video. And the other one was about 18 months to 2 years ago, where I was just starting to get involved with Sorare, and I learned some really key things. Now, if you're watching this video and you are an expert on Sorare, then yes, some of these things might not be relevant or might be a given to you. But if you are just starting out, or if you've been playing Sorare a little while, we're just going to delve into some of the kind of experts, the pros, the guys that have been playing this game for a long period of time, as to what they said and how it influenced me. And the first video we're going to be talking about is, as I said, recorded about 18 months ago to 2 years ago with PSU Fans 2 and Ledino, Andrew Led, who hosts the Sorare Data strategy shows and the Andrew Show and loads of other shows, the Sorare Data YouTube channel. And I want to highlight some of the key points. So first up is this one.
Basically, having all of your guys from the same league ensures that they all play around the same time. You know that on an MLS weekend, if you have all MLS cards, then they're going to play.
Now, this is one that I learned very quickly, because when I first started buying cards, I was buying this guy from this league and this guy from this league. And I think I strung together maybe 13, 14 cards with a couple of goalkeepers. But what I found as I went on as a few game weeks at a time, I couldn't really get two strong lineups out, because this guy was playing in the Bundesliga on this weekend, but the American League weren't playing there. Now, they was playing in midweek, but the Bundesliga guys wasn't, and those sort of things. So it was just such a key tip very early on. And again, I'd say that some of this now, looking back, it's so obvious. However, having players from the same league really does help.
The number one most important statistic is, does your guy play every game? If he plays every single game, you're never dead.
Focus on guys who play.
Again, this might seem as a really obvious one, but I actually made this mistake, and it wasn't so much as a mistake when I'll tell you who the player was, which was actually Kingsley Coman from Bayern Munich, who's obviously a fantastic player and a great scorer on Sorare, but I'm unsure if he's going to play. Which means if you're unsure and you've read all the information and you're still not sure if he's going to make that starting 11, then you're already putting that lineup at risk. So is the player locked in kind of week in and week out, or is he being rotated? Because if he's being rotated, it could kill your lineup at any point.
We always want to look at things from an L40 perspective, because that shows the long-term consistency.
Being able to have somebody who always plays is just key. And if it's a 5 to 8 point difference between a guy who is literally double the price, then that seems like a pretty good value.
I think with this one, you could probably lean a little bit on the L15 as well. But how many times have you seen, when you've been looking around on Sorare Data or wherever that you've been doing your scouting, and you've seen somebody have an 80, a 90, a 98, something like that, all within their last 5? But then if you're only focusing on the last 5, what happened to the 35 games before that? Was they a starter? Was they a bench warmer? Have they now been a little bit lucky because that person that they've replaced has been injured for, or going to be injured for the 5, 6, 7 games? Because when it comes to game 7 or game 8, they could easily be dropped again, even though they've had that good patch of form. So instead of looking something with tunnel vision, is to open it up and just looking at it from a wide stretch and give myself a wider lens to learn the history about the player.
Realistically speaking, every single game week, you're going to play 2 defenders or 2 midfielders. The reason for that is because their floors are going to be a lot more stable than that of the forwards, and they're generally going to be better cards.
Back when this video was recorded, the prices of forwards were quite extortionate, and if you're anything like me, I actually struggle in today's market to find decent scoring forwards. So I always look for that defender or midfielder, and it kind of all started from the point that PSU Fans 2 is making there, is that I could find a set piece taker who's a defender, or a set piece taker who's a midfielder that is cheaper than this premium forward, and you're just waiting for them to score a goal. Now, obviously, you can lean on forwards. Yes, they might get more decisives, but from an AA standpoint, the defender and midfielder could quite easily score the same as a forward who's just scored 1 goal in the game. So back then, when I was actually trying to budget and build my gallery together, it was cheaper to buy an extra 2 defenders than an extra forward, or to cut down on the forward a little bit and just bank on a decisive.
We mentioned earlier, like, we weren't necessarily looking to stack, but the goalkeeper defender one seems to make the most sense, because if they obviously get a clean sheet, then you're getting points from both of them.
If we have the ability to stack and it makes sense, we will stack.
And this is probably the biggest point that I took away from this video at that time. Again, I was watching this very, very early on in my Sorare journey, but if you look at my gallery now, and if you even follow the transactions and all the signings that I've made in the last year, if I buy a goalkeeper, I normally buy the defender as well, because again, exactly what as Laird said there, if you get that clean sheet, not only do you get the decisive score, obviously from the goalkeeper, but you get the 10-point boost for the defender as well. And all of a sudden, you're kind of well on your way to racking up a decent score for that week. Now, sometimes it doesn't always pay off. But again, looking back at the time when this tip was kind of shown or presented to me, I was like, bang, I'm going to buy this goalkeeper. I'm going to buy this defender as well. Or I went to a midfielder and a forward as well. So stacking at that point, I didn't really understand it. This video explained it to me and really, really helped me build that solid foundation that, again, if this team plays, I've got 2 or 3 players from this team. Now, some people go to the extent where they're stacking in terms of a full team. I haven't really done that before, and I don't think that I would ever do that. I'd rather have a defensive stack and a forward stack if I was putting them into the same team. But again, a really good tip for me, because if I've got a goalkeeper, I'm more than likely going to pick up a defender to go with them.
Champ Europe is the worst investment on the platform, unless you're just trying to invest in the card and hoping the card goes up.
Now, that statement from PSU fans too might not be as applicable now as it was then, but there's still definitely some truth behind that, because it's more difficult in terms, if you look at the scores that are churned out kind of week in and week out, and you compare the rewards that are given out and what score there was to get those rewards in that competition in Champion Europe. It's a little bit tougher. And what I found at that point, again, just starting the game, just starting to understand some stuff, is that I could buy 4 or 5 players from the MLS, for example, that was maybe the same price as 2 players in Champion Europe. So I was able to enter All-Star and All-Star Rare Pro and those sort of things a lot earlier, because I was focusing on different leagues rather than Champ Europe, sorry. So I think that it's something that's stayed with me since then and still with me now. I mean, I'm not playing Champion Europe. I do have a few Champion Europe players, but I'm certainly not playing that competition, because it is a little bit tougher to compete in and certainly to win. Now, I only picked 4 or 5 clips out of that video, and the link to the full video is down below in the description, but I still think it's a great exercise to go back, even though it was 18 months to 2 years ago. I still think it's a great exercise to go back and listen to the entirety of that video, because there are some more key points in there as well. And for anybody new coming onto the platform, if you want to avoid some of the mistakes that people are bound to make, or ensure that you are learning quicker, definitely go back and watch that video. The next video we're going to review was recorded as recently as last week, with Laird inviting Bob Orangefly onto the Sorare Data Strategy Show, where they was talking about beating the game. And now Bob's been playing this game Sorare for about 3 years, I think it is. And recently he's really transitioned and remodeled his gallery to ensure that he's earning thresholds week in and kind of week out, because that $200 or that $500 from a unique standpoint, obviously it's a lot of money to win, right? So you need to invest correctly and doing it the right way in terms of molding your gallery to give you the best shot and the best chance to win that threshold week in and week out. And this was, I must say, this video was so time fitting, because it's exactly the process that I'm going through right now in terms of my gallery. And if you go back and watch the last couple of videos on my channel, this is exactly what I've been going through as well. So such a timely video, and honestly an amazing video. But let's get into the first point that Bob makes.
So one of the things that I really focus on a lot is I try to look at one division and focus my time in that area, because I really believe that if I can put enough time into one competition, I can succeed in that competition.
Now, I think this is really similar to what Laird and PSU fans too was talking about in this first video, but I think Bob was coming at it from a different angle, almost from a knowledge point of view, because yes, it's great to have players in the same league so that you can play any given game week where they're all playing together, or they've got a midweek where you can throw some of your players in. But also in terms of time and knowledge point of view, because if you are spreading yourself quite thin and you're trying to learn multiple, 5 or 6 different leagues, you're not going to be able to absorb much information if you was to focus that period of 5-6 weeks where you're trying to learn things, or even a longer period of time, right? If you're focusing on one thing, you're going to learn more about that one thing. And I think that's what Bob's saying there. And it really, really helped me at the early days with this, but also now moving forward as well, is that I focus on, or try to focus on, like 2 or 3 different leagues where I can build up knowledge, and I know exactly how that team's going to be playing, who the set piece takers are, whether they've had a change in management, whether they're going to be changing their style. Is that forward playing left back and he's got a forward card, so he's going to get more AA? That sort of stuff. Knowing that information is really, really key. And I think Bob hits the nail on the head there.
The game is the easiest thing to beat, but you need a plan to beat the game. You need to have an idea of how you're going to achieve those scores.
But with this 240, you don't have to beat anyone except a number.
This is something that I've only just started thinking about. Beating the game. It is going to be easier for me if I focused all my attention in terms of beating the game than beating 5, 10, 20,000 people. They might have bigger galleries than me. They might have better cards than me. And I'm kind of waiting for the stars align, right? To even get a return or a reward or a card or whatever it may be back from that lineup. But if I can focus my attention on beating the game is the game itself, right? With Cap 240, it's 280 points. You get 280.1 points, you're getting that threshold. I know who I'm competing against. I know where I'm competing against. And then I can start to strategize my gallery around hitting that 280 points. And it's the point that Bob makes throughout all of this video.
If you are not a Kylian Mbappe, if you are not a Joshua Kimmich, like if you are playing on the road, you're probably not going to be as good. So like play guys that are at home.
Now there are cards out there. There are players out there that actually thrive more away than they do at home, right? But they are definitely few and far between. So what Bob's talking about here is giving yourself the best chance possible in order to be hitting that threshold, or to be getting great scores out of your players who might be terrible away from home. And this hits even harder when it comes to MLS players because of the distance that people have to travel from East Coast to West Coast and all around their country. Obviously, sometimes it can be like 8-9 hour flights or whatever it may be. So it's just that extra bit of kind of a golden nugget as such, as to think about when you're building your lineups. And again, it's something that I learned very, very quickly and early on when I was playing the MLS games, because I think one time I put out a lineup with 5 away guys and I scored barely like 100 points because they were traveling and they're poor on the road and they're playing in artificial turf and whatnot. So it's just another factor to come into, especially for me when I'm building these lineups at the moment. Is it a home fixture? Is it a good fixture for them? Do they perform well at home? And when it comes to Cap 240, I think it's vital.
So I hear a lot of friends that ask me, like, I want to play Cap 240, Bob, but I want to play in Champ Europe with Champ Europe guys. I'm like, well, you can certainly do that, but your Europe guys are going to be considerably more expensive than my second division guys. And so when you get 5 of your guys, God forbid you hit a cap, and then all of a sudden you're over the cap and you can't actually play that anymore.
And this just echoes exactly what PSU Fans 2 was saying earlier. And I didn't really show too much of that clip, so Bob probably articulates this point a little bit better. But it's just having a depth of people and not going beyond your means, really. And with Champion Europe, because the prices are a lot more expensive, you could probably focus on a lesser area and have 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 cards that are of that cost the same as one card and deliver a certain amount of mirroring scores, so to speak. But you could then start playing the fixtures and start playing the home and away games as well, depending on where they perform best.
I look for low L15 40 forwards because they still have the opportunity to go in and net a decisive. And so I will typically play two forwards in my Cap 240 team, and their averages are not above 45.
So this was something that I didn't really think of, and I kind of explained earlier how I prefer personally to be playing an extra defender or a midfielder, but for Cap 240, I never thought about playing two forwards in the same lineup. But what Bob says there makes total sense, because if you get a forward, I've just bought one. I've just bought a Niang for my gallery, right, a couple of weeks ago. Now, yes, he's earned me 2 thresholds, and this weekend just gone, he's had an assist and a goal and scored me 80 points. But yeah, he's still. I think his L15 is still around about 45. So I'm going to play him kind of week in and week out, and then I could rotate if I had another forward in there, or say 2 forwards hit it and they hit 80 each. On 160 out of 280 there. I'm already like nearly there. It's something that I didn't really think about. And it's a great point that Bob makes.
In my opinion, your gallery should be an ever evolving thing. It should never be standing still. You need to adjust. You need to be able to roll with the punches. Like if you're going to spend a whole bunch of money on a number of super rares or a number of rares and they're not producing for you, are you going to keep doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, hoping for a different results? Like, isn't that like the definition of insanity?
Now, I hope that I'm not alone here, but I can certainly say that I do basically what Bob just said. I will win a player, or I will buy a player, and I think I'm just going to hold on, and I'm going to hold on, and then I'm going to put him in this lineup. Oh, he didn't perform, but I'm going to put him in this one because it's a really good fixture, and he didn't perform. And I'm then stuck with this player. It's something that I need to definitely learn and get better at, and start thinking as my gallery is exactly what Bob said. Is this person, is this card the right tool for my gallery at the moment? And then just keep changing, sharpen your tool, or if it gets a little bit blunt, bring in a new knife, or whatever it may be. It's something that I 100% need to get better at.
I just DM everybody. And I talk to everybody and I ask questions. So I have buddies in France that will relay to me information on like what's going on with these certain players, these certain teams.
Now, this is something that I think that people should 100% do more. Now, I watched this video live, like when it was actually being streamed. So I whacked a comment in there and Lair brought it up on screen. I just done this recently with a super rare goalkeeper that I bought. I asked 20 odd people. A few people got back to me with some really key information, which made me think, yes, this is a good decision. Now, they could have come back with some information that was harming. For example, that, oh, they're about to sign this goalkeeper, and I personally missed that news when I was searching the internet or Twitter or whatever it may be for this player. And I have no shame, exactly the same as Bob, in terms of asking questions. And it's something that I've just done from the beginning. I would ping some of these experts and might not even get a reply, but at the end of the day, who gives a shit? Who cares? I want to know the information. I want to ensure that I'm putting myself in the best position in order to succeed within Sorare, right? And I can't kind of express enough what an important part of the process I believe this to be. And it was just reassuring that Bob brought this up in this video.
Like, it's so hard to hit is what everyone says. Like, well, yeah, if you don't prioritize it, and if you're just throwing random cards in it, yes, every competition is exponentially harder if you're not prioritizing it.
Bob's words of wisdom there. And I think everybody's fallen to this before, right? You say that, oh, I'm prioritizing all-star rare, but this guy should actually go in this lineup, so I'm going to move him over there and bring somebody else in. But you're not actually prioritizing. And I do this every single week. I think to myself, oh, well, this is my most important lineup, and this is where that guy should be playing, and this is the fixture that's going to win me this division. But, oh, hold on a minute. I've actually got this super rare that's decent as well, and so I'm going to play him in Rare Plus. Well, then I'm not prioritizing All-Star Rare, but it's something that I'm trying to change now, especially bringing into Cap 240 Super Rare. That is my focus. So if I've got some super rares that's going to be going into that lineup that are really, really good, and they've got a good fixture, well, that's great, because that's what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for that threshold, and I'm aiming for that $200. So those are the 2 videos that have definitely helped me the most so far in my Sorare journey. Now, I consume quite a lot of content. I'm always on the lookout for new YouTube videos, or I'm subscribed to Sorare content creators. I think that the Sorare Data Strategy show is an amazing show, but all of the videos that go out there on the Sorare Data channel, so definitely go and give them a subscribe, because these videos were from that channel. And again, links are down below in the description. Definitely go and give them a watch. But I try and consume as much content as possible, because I want to be as best as Sorare manager that I can be, right? I want to pick up this hint and this tip. Are there any videos out there that you think that you've watched and you thought, do you know what, that has just transformed the way that I think about Sorare? If so, leave a comment down below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see some more, hit the subscribe button. And as always, I'll see you in the future.